Chloe's a really interesting character to play because from the beginning she's such an obvious outsider in Matt's group. He almost forgets to mention her when we visit his memory on the day they're going to Thorpe Park. And yet she clearly has so much to offer and so many ideas. She's the only one who's not taken in by the business trip to Thorpe Park that's making everyone think, oh, business is great. We're all going to do this next year. And she's like, really? You're going to base your whole future on this stupid trip? And she just refuses to follow the crowd and be taken in by it, and she thinks for herself. And yet underneath that there's this really desperate longing to be seen and valued and noticed by everyone. She's just so desperate to be included, and as we realize throughout the course of the play, what's going on with her is so much worse than we would originally perceive it from that scene. So she kind of shows us that you really don't know what's going on in other people's lives, and what the group perceives as her being quite shallow and silly in applying this makeup all the time, so she must be perfect. It's actually a sign that for her, maybe having perfect makeup and looking perfect is a really high stakes thing, because if she doesn't, then no one's going to like her and appreciate her, and it might be the tipping point in her loneliness. So I think she's a really interesting, complex and sad character to play for that reason. I really like Chloe. I like that she thinks for herself, that she has her own ideas, and she's a kind person. I feel that she's aware of the others in the group, and in a sense, because she's going through a lot of difficult emotions, she's more aware of the others, and I picture her being very caring. And yet, what the time that we don't see Chloe is in between Thorpe Park with Matt, and then right up to when she's at her very worst, when her mother Sarah reveals what's happened to her. And so we don't see her and her mother interacting, and I think that the way that Chloe must have behaved during that time must have been, she does behave terribly to her mother, in that Sarah Foreman's doing everything. She's checking her bag, she's being really caring, she's taking her to the doctor, she's trying to talk to Chloe, and Chloe's mind is so fixed on this awful thing that she feels like she needs to do to herself, that she's just completely, she becomes incredibly selfish. And yet that is not her action, that is how she is behaving due to her mental illness, and it's not really something that she can control, because she's kind of consumed by this self-loathing, and this illness is really just eating her up. So even though she behaves terribly to her mother in the scenes where we don't see her, I think that underneath it all she's just a good person who's really lost. So to find Chloe, it was really important to be consciously aware of my appearance, because to Chloe, her appearance is the difference, and it's the one thing she has the most control over as to how she can get friends and become more popular and be accepted. So firstly, it was really important to have a relationship with my clothes. So everything has to be like perfect all the time. So I'm always fiddling. Also in the point where she will be self-harming, there's more of an awareness, I think, of her arms and covering them, and a sensitivity to it, all those little things in her clothes. And it was this hat and the jacket and the top all perfectly color coordinated, because she is a fashion student and it's something she can control, so it must be perfect all the time. I had this little mirror that was very useful to always check myself in. And she's very apologetic in her movements all the time. So all these little tiny details about her are really important, because there's something that she's so aware of constantly in her mind. So that was really important to help me find Chloe. So I played Sarah Foreman, who is Chloe's mother, and I went into that scene straight after playing Chloe. So it was really difficult, because in one sense it's helpful, because I've just been playing Chloe, and then Chloe's mother is talking about her. So it's like Chloe's actions over the last few months before she died would have been very much in my mind as her mother when I'm speaking to this group of students about her. However, I had to find a point which like defines Chloe's mother as a separate being from Chloe, because I think it was really important for me in that monologue scene that it wasn't just, she's not, Sarah Foreman is not just a grieving mother. That is who she has become in the eyes of these students and the people who have seen her on the news. But that is not just who she is. She has a job, she has a life before she was married, before she has children. She has another son. And so it was really important to find one grounding thought. So it wasn't just a huge rush of emotion about Chloe, which it is in a way, but also she is a person and she has a purpose. She's there for a reason. And so I thought I had to find a way. I thought to myself, as I said, the first line, which is, "My name is Sarah Foreman," I was thinking, this is who I am now to these children. They see me only as a mother of a dead child, as this really tragic character, and that's true, but I'm more than this, and Chloe is also more than this. And so finding that one thought was really important in driving me and grounding me throughout the whole of the speech, and that allowed me then to let go and find the emotion that needs to go with those words that she's saying. And then I also played Emily. And Emily, my first instinct with that scene where she gives the laxatives to Sophia was to be very genuine and very like, she thinks she's doing the right thing for her friend by giving her the laxatives, like, oh, I want to help you because doing this will make you more popular and it'll make our group more popular and you'll be happier if you're super skinny. And so I wanted to play it really genuine, but then I was given the direction to look into the audience, which in our case was an empty audience, but to look into the audience as if I'm sort of sharing the joke with somebody outside, which made me find this really nasty enjoyment over what I'm doing to her, even though it's horrible. And so I think that really freed me up as Emily to find some sort of enjoyment. There's a bit of a genuine intention to help her there, but really I think that was an excuse, because I think it helped me realise that for Emily, she was enjoying having this power over Sophia, probably because that's how she's treated by Pandora, and it gives her some feeling of satisfaction in it. So that made me a lot more relaxed about the scene, and it was a lot more enjoyable to play with that sense of enjoying being mean. And then there was Tash's mum. And for Tash's mum, I think the main thing was to find the weight that went with that character, because she moves differently and she has that different weight to the way she walks and moves because of her life experience and because of her age. So once I'd sort of practiced that and found that sense of, perhaps I picture her as a really hard-working single mum. I think she doesn't have the easiest time. So finding that sense of sort of a weariness and a weight, as well as a groundedness and determination, was really key for that character.